Okay, well, we are looking at some data today, and then we're answering some questions. So we can solve word problems with line plots. We're just going to make sure we can solve these word problems today, okay? Mr. Walker showed you a line plot. Here's what we're going to do today. I think even easier than making a line plot is taking this table of information. You're going to have one on your assignment today too. And I would just copy it down. I would pause it or copy it down on your assignment on some notebook paper. And here's what we're going to do. So that it's easy to answer the questions. It's hard to tell 8 1/2, 8 3/4, 7 3/4, 7 3/4. It's hard to tell, it's hard to compare them. And the questions are asking us to compare them. It's hard to compare them unless they have common denominators. That's what we've been working on, right? So I'm just going to, at the very beginning, before I even try to answer any questions, I'm going to take every fraction on here and I'm going to make a common denominator. Well, Mr. Hilton, that's takes long. Yeah, it does. But we can do it, especially on this one because the biggest number on the bottom we have is 4, and I don't have to change anything that's a 4. I just need to change the ones that are halves to fourths, and then it's really easy for me to compare these. Okay, so I'm going to change this half to a fourth. So 8 1/2, I'm going to change it to a fourth. I do 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. So this is equal to 8 2/4. You might want to write it out to the side. 8 2/4. Okay, so Susan, the length of her shoe is 8 2/4. Let's find another half. Here's another half, 7 1/2. Okay, we know that 1/2 is equal to 2/4, so we know it's 7 2/4. And 8 1/2, we know that 1/2 is equal to 2/4, so this is 8 2/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and write the rest of them out here to the side too, so it's easy to see. 7 3/4, 7 3/4, 8, 7 3/4, 8 3/4. Now, if I was to draw a line plot, I could do the shoe sizes on the bottom. Where's their smallest size? Got 7 2/4, I believe. So we'll do 7 2/4. Oops, sorry. And then we've got 7 3/4. And we've got an 8. And then everything else is more than 8. We've got 8 1/2. And then we've got, which is 2/4. Sorry, we're doing all fourths. 8 2/4. And then we've got 8 3/4. So let's mark all these starting at the top, and we'll put an X above the place where they are, okay? So can you see mine? Okay, it's a little hard there. There we go. All right, so 7 2/4. How many do I have? I've got 1. Okay, so I've got put an X there. We're just making a line plot. 7 2/4. 7 3/4. How many do I have? There's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put 3 X's above 7 3/4. How many 8s do I have? Just 1. Okay. How many 8 2/4 do I have? There's 1, 2, 2, 8 2/4, and I have 1, 8 3/4. So that's what a line plot looks like. That's nothing fancy about that. It's just putting X's above the sizes. But it might help us answer some questions, okay? So, for example, who has a shoe length 1 inch longer than Dickens? Okay, well, first we need to know how long Dickens is. Dickens is 7 3/4. His shoe size is 7 3/4. So if we add 1 to 7 3/4, what do we get? Well, 7 3/4. 7 3/4 plus 1 is going to be 8 3/4. So who has a shoe size that's 8 3/4? It's Mary. Mary has a shoe size 8 3/4. Okay, let's go to the next question. Who has a shoe length 1 inch shorter than Susan's? Well, let's find Susan. Susan's is 8 2/4. 8 2/4. So what's 8 2/4 minus 1? It's going to be 7 2/4. 8 2/4 minus 1 is 7 2/4. So who has a shoe size that's 7 2/4? It's this person right here. It's Ben. There's only one. I can look over here and see only one person has 7 2/4. So it's Ben. The next question says, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can kind of see it at the same time. How many 1/4 inches long is Martha's shoe length? A 1/4 inch is 1/4, okay? 1/4 means 1/4. You'll hear it said like that sometimes. Martha's shoe length is 7 3/4. So this is asking how many 1/4 would it take to get 7 3/4? Well, that's a crazy question. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is I can do this 3/4. So 3 times 1/4 is 3/4. So I know it's 3/4 inches to get to 3/4. But how many fourths is 7? 7 holes. Okay, so if I do 1/4 and I've got to get 7, well, how do I do that? Well, remember what we do? We break this down into 4/4. So to get 7, I would need 4/4. There's 1. 4/4 more. 4/4 more. There's 3. 4/4 more. There's 4. 4/4 more. There's 5. 4/4 more. There's 6. 4/4 more. There's 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I add all these 4s. 4, 8, 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24, plus 4 is 28/4 equals 7. So 28/4 is 7, and then I have 3/4 more. 28 plus 3 is 31/4. How many 1/4 inches long is Martha's shoe length? It's 31/4 or 31/4 inches long, okay? 31/4. Wow. That was interesting, wasn't it? Is there another way that we could do that, Mr. Helton? Yeah. Remember how we can do this? 4 times 7 is 28, plus 3 is 31. Wouldn't that have been easier? Yes. So you can do that too. You can find it in fourths like that. You can convert it to a mixed number doing 4 times 7 plus 3. Either way works, okay? What's the difference in inches between Lila's and Martha's shoe length? Well, let's find Lila's shoe length. Lila's is exactly 8. Martha's shoe length is 7 3/4. So 8 minus 7 3/4. Now, we had some problems like this, didn't we? Okay, so we're going to subtract and find out. How can I make this 8/4? I can take this 8 and take 1 away, make it a 7 4/4. Remember when we did that? So I took this 8 and I decomposed it to a 7, and then I took 1 4/4 to make 1. 7 and 1 would still be 8. So I can do 7 4/4 minus 7 3/4. Well, what's left? Only 1/4. Because the 7s cancel each other out. 7s minus 7 is 0. 4/4 minus 3/4 is 1/4. So the answer is 1/4 inches difference. Okay. Compare the shoe length of Ben and Francis using greater than, less than, or equal. All right, we got to get Ben and Francis. Ben is, let's do how we converted them, 7 2/4. Francis is 7 3/4. Aren't you glad we already converted these? Because this is really easy to see. 7 3/4 is greater than 7 2/4. So I'll put it in the box down here just since that's where the answer goes. Okay. How many students had shoes that measured less than 8 inches? Well, let's go to our line plot here and count. Less than 8 inches, not 8 inches, but less than 8 inches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 students who had shoes that were less than, shoe sizes less than 8 inches. There were 4. How many students measured the length of their shoes? Well, all of them did on our chart, didn't they? Or they wouldn't know how long their shoe is. So we've got to count how many there were. We can just count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 students who measured the length of their shoes. Mr. Jones' shoe length was 25 and 25 half inches. Who had the longer shoe, Mr. Jones or the student with the longest shoe? All right, so 25 halves. Who had the longest shoe? It was 8 3/4. Great. After we converted that, now we've got to convert old Mr. Jones's shoe. Doggone you, Mr. Jones. Well, first thing we need to do is let's just make it a mixed number, okay? 25 halves. Do 25 divided by 2. That's going to be 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 and 1/2. So 25 halves is 12 and 1/2. Okay, well, that's easier to see. 12 is bigger than 8. So Mr. Jones had the biggest shoe size. Okay, and that's how you're going to do today's math. Just start off converting them to begin with. Make them all whatever the biggest fraction, the biggest denominator is. In this example, it was 4th. It could be 8th on your homework. It could be 12th. I don't know. So convert them to the biggest denominator, all the numbers, and then it will be easy to go back and answer these questions, okay? I'll let you get started. And as always, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the Google Meet later. See you then.